Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder. Today we're cracking open a report so complex it might require its own Rosetta Stone. Just kidding. We're diving into the Calamos Strategic Total Return Fund semi-annual report. This fund juggles convertibles, equities and a bunch of other financial instruments, and we're figuring out if it's a smooth ride or a roller coaster. First off, if you appreciate clear financial analysis, give that like button a tap. Also, if you want to discuss this with other people, make sure you join our Discord. It's linked in the description below. Let's dive into the filing. This filing covers several Calamos funds. So to clarify, we are focusing on the Calamos Strategic Total Return Fund, ticker symbol CSQ. This is essentially a report card for the fund letting shareholders know how it performed from November 1, 2024 through April 30, 2025. These reports are all about transparency with the goal to let normal investors know what is going on. One thing closed-end fund investors are often looking for is a steady income stream. Here we can see that the team distributed $0.25 ARV per share each month. It is a nice, predictable part of what they do. However, don't assume this means the fund is doing great overall or will always pay this much. The fund's board of trustees can change this policy at any time for any reason. Okay, let's look at the actual numbers. We'll start at the statements of assets and liabilities. This is a snapshot. To view what do these numbers tell us about the resources that Calamos Strategic Total Return Fund has? The report states that Calamos Strategic Total Return Fund has $3,813, $766,023 invested in securities. That's a big portfolio under their management. So is it going up or down? While the fund has over $3 billion in investment, it has $742,664,091 of accumulated distributable earnings. This is basically all the spare money they've earned over time with investments and are allowed to give out to shareholders if they wanted to. And having a high number is always good to the investor. It says that a fund can pay out more and the market likes that. The net asset value per common share is 1 cents. This is essentially book value if all assets sell at value and liabilities are paid off. Shares outstanding are 160,369,635. Alright, let us now scroll down to the statements of operations and see how they are dealing things. This is the equivalent of an income statement and show if the fund has been operating in the green. Total investment income is $40,496,607. But their expenses were significantly higher, sitting at $53,009,928. So even before accounting for any losses on their investments, they already lost over $10 million. Looking at Warren Buffett's analysis perspective, the team had a pretty rough time simply making the money to justify its existence, let alone making returns for the shareholders this year. Diving further into the operations statement, we can see the fund lost even more money on their investments. At the net realized gain, loss from investments, excluding purchased options, was a gain of $34,247 and $986, but the huge losses came from the change in net unrealized appreciation under investments as they lost $107,347 thence and new and EIA's appreciation, depreciation on investments. As they lost $107,340 and 80 the XD realized gains of 34 Asian dollars realized gains of 34 Haitian on Thursday lost 107,300 and vol and 80 there to the realized gains of $347 and 347 $1801. Altogether, the fund saw a net decrease in this 6-month period of seller for 4,828. Ouch. Next, let's pull up the statements of changes in net assets. At the beginning of this period, the fund had $2,815 and $285,387. But after all the operations were accounted for, it had only $2,005. Table breaks out only $2,654,200. Therefore, as they are losing money from distribution to shareholders, and the end of period as of April 30, 2025, this table breaks how they have the result that they had and where it came from. It's all the individual pieces put together. A key note is they are losing money from distribution to shareholders. Looking deeply into this table, their distributions to shareholders were $798 million in the red. This means the managed distribution policy they have is costing them more than they are bringing from gains. Finally, we can scroll to the statement of cash flows, a final check to see if the financial information makes sense from an accounting point of view. The fund saw a net decrease in cash from operating activities of $21,721 and net decrease from financing of $39,739 and $39,079 and $739,433 million, which is consistent with the statements of net assets. Alright, let's move on and look into one of the most interesting parts, financial highlights, XKOUCAN net asset value. Beginning of period was at 1741, so it's been quite a depreciation on it so it's been quite a depreciation on it. To get a quick snapshot on what this fund does, we go straight to the ratios to average net assets applicable to common shareholders to know a few percentage numbers that are very telling. Net expenses shows us 3.76% and the net investment income loss shows 0.89%. There is a major imbalance here and a cause for concern that must be addressed. This means the expenses are significantly outweighing the earnings, causing the fund to underperform. In effect, every dollar invested in this fund after operating it for 6 months results in losing roughly 3-4 cents. It's a pretty big amount given that even good funds barely get into the double-digit percentage in a year. Now, looking at these results more broadly, Calamos Strategic Total Return Fund appears to be struggling in the face of some larger market forces. It appears the fund could be in a bit of a bind. This might be worth investigating on a deeper level before investing. The notes payables are at $1 billion. Having significant levels of debt could pose a risk, especially if markets get shaky or interest rates go up. There's also the ongoing issue with having preferred shares with large amounts of them redeemable in just a few years. Maybe things will change if the market improves. Alright, that's our breakdown of Calamos Strategic Total Return Fund's semi-annual filling. What's your take on these numbers and what they signal for the fund's future? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And one more thing, if this analysis was valuable, hitting that like button really helps, and subscribe for more deep dives. Don't forget to check out the Discord in the description for more serious investing conversations. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one.